Welcome to Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness, the podcast for hormone and functional medicine providers who want a thriving, predictably profitable practice and maybe a little less stress along the way. Hi, I'm your host, Jody Lane, and I've worked with lots of clinics in marketing, sales, and business development, and I have seen what works and what doesn't. And here's what I believe. Hormone and wellness care should be available to everyone who wants it. And while providers know the medicine, many struggle with the business side of their cash practice. And that's where I come in. See, this podcast is here to share real strategies, real stories, things you can implement in your practice right away. So I am so glad you're here. Come on, let's go. Welcome back to Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness. I'm your host, Jody Lane, and today's episode is a special one. Most of the time, we talk with hormone providers about their journey in building and growing practices. But today, I'm talking with someone who is what I like to call provider adjacent. No, she's not prescribing hormones, but she is helping patients make the lifestyle changes that allow hormone therapy to really work. Marlyn Diaz is a functional nutritionist, author, wellness coach, and honestly, one of the most radiant people you'll ever meet. She's been supporting patients and clinics since 2007, helping them upgrade their nutrition, lifestyle, and even their pantry so that results last long term. We're going to talk to her about her unique role alongside hormone clinics, the power of food as medicine, and why she describes herself as a sparkly unicorn in the space. You're going to walk away inspired by her energy and some practical gems that you can use in your own practice. All right, let's dive into my conversation with Marlyn Diaz. Hi.
Hi, Jody.
How you doing, Marlyn?
Awesome. Having a great radiant day. How about you?
I am now. And whenever I am staring at you on the screen, I'm having a great radiant day. It's so good to see your face.
You too. You as well.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm very excited to talk to you. We've been talking to a lot of hormone providers, and you are hormone provider adjacent, right? So before we dive into your story, tell anyone who's listening, tell me a little bit about what your name is, what your business name is, and essentially what you do.
I'm Marlyn Diaz, functional nutritionist, author, and wellness coach. My business is Marlyn Wellness. And I help serve the community in weight loss, food coaching, lifestyle supplements. So I would look at myself as a value added service to the hormone clinics in supporting patients on their journey for wellness, weight loss, and overall emotional and physical well-being.
And we were just talking before we started the recording about the fact that you're kind of a unicorn, right? So tell my listeners why you're a unicorn in the hormone space.
So I would look at myself as definitely a sparkly unicorn that kind of like hops around to different clinics and my own. And it all started back in 2007 when I was working for an integrative medical practice in Los Angeles who also did hormones at the time. And that's where I learned about elimination eating. And it was very new, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. These were all new concepts at the time that were just trickling to mainstream. And so what I learned when I was working with a lot of their patients at this clinic was everyone came in and thought, going to be like cardboard eating, like not going to taste good. And so I realized that so much of compliance was having healthy food and making food fun. And so I started to go out to Whole Foods and various markets in LA and really do the research on what was going to be supportive. And that's when I started my website and my blog, which was really about food products and health at the core and superfoods at the time. So it was supporting the patients on their journey to well-being. And it's since morphed into so much more since then.
But you also work very closely with hormone clinics and specifically with WorldLink-trained hormone clinicians. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So along my journey, I worked with 5 different top tier doctors, integrative medicine, functional medicine in LA. And one of them was Dr. David Allen. And I met him in 2014. And he had just started with WorldLink at the time. And he introduced me to WorldLink, the world of hormones. We had a lot of synchronicity and we began to do talks together. I invited him to my retreats. He invited me to do talks with him. And so I started listening to WorldLink lectures. And in 2018, I went to my first summit and met a lot of the doctors. Some of them I'm still friends with, and we have created great relationships. And so that really opened up my world to hormones and looking at food as medicine and how everything works in harmony. Yes, in 2020 in Utah, I was honored and invited to speak at the Hormone Summit. It was called Hormones and Beyond at the time. It was their summit during the pandemic in Utah, mask and all. Everyone was there. I took mine off when I got on the stage. And so there was about 150, I think, live, and the many around the world. Zoom came to be during that time. And I remember stepping on that stage all lit up, and you had shared, you were in the audience, like kind of typing away, and you're like, whoa, who is this woman? Because I told them, I want to don't be at the podium. I want to be mic'd up and walk the stage. Everyone was standing at the podium all weekend. And you're like, wow, who's this woman? Right. And so, yeah, that's where we met. And look, that was 5 years ago. So we're still going strong.
Yeah, I don't always believe that everything, in the universe is meant to be and all of that stuff. But I know without a doubt that I was meant to be at that. Was my first summit. And it was a lot of doctors talking way above my head because I am in the business side, not on the medical side. And you walked out on stage and, you always talk about being radiant, and you were so radiant. And I thought to myself, oh, I want to be like her one day. And then you walked up to me in the hallway and we started talking, and that was it. It was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. So I'm so grateful to WorldLink that we had that chance to meet.
Definitely. It was definitely a divine moment.
So your career has evolved quite a bit over time. Let's talk about a little bit the today and the now. So you work with both patients one-on-one and you work with practices, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you do that with each?
Absolutely. So I work with one-on-one and have my own practice, functional nutrition. I'll help patients with genetics, supplements, lifestyle. Sometimes it's a power hour session and sometimes 3 or 6 month journey. And some very focused individual clients. I also do retreats. I'll do groups. I started with when Zoom came to be, master classes, detoxes, various things. I think we've done some together through the years as well. And with WorldLink, I've really created some great connections. And sometimes the doctors just don't have the time to go deep when it comes to nutrition. And they realize I have the basis of the functional nutrition, functional medicine, and really understand the hormone piece as well. So if they send me someone to work with, I get the foundation of what's already going on. And then I'm there to do education, to support them around their daily eating. I many times bring show and tell if it's on a Zoom call, making it fun, review sometimes supplements that they're on. Especially if the doctor just said, okay, we need to put you on a vitamin D. That happened recently with a WorldLink provider sent me a patient of theirs and they were getting vitamin D at a local drugstore. And when we looked at the label, there was soybean oil and various things that no need to be in a supplement, right? So we upgraded their supplements. So when it comes to WorldLink or any other physicians or integrative hormone practices, I'm here as value added support. So they can send me a patient. I'll be happy to work with them. I've even helped the practice that they're at boost their supplements. So if they have a full script account or some kind of supplement account, I'll help boost their sales as opposed to the neighborhood drugstore where we don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf. So it's a team approach. It really is a team approach and everybody wins.
You worked with a friend of mine early on when we met, and what I loved about what you offered to this particular person was, and even though it was remote, you did a Zoom call where you walked through his pantry. You told him what to throw out, what to buy. I know in LA, you've taken people to the grocery store. You've helped them learn how to shop the aisles, how to read the labels. Where is the value in that? Why is that an important piece?
In my mind, it really is the foundation because we can sit. I just got off a call with a client, same thing. And I'll share with you, we can sit, we can share what to do. I can educate and talk about blood sugar, and the doctor can talk about blood sugar. The truth of the matter is, it really comes down to what's in your pantry, what's in your fridge, what are your go to items. When you get a craving, do you have that blood sugar balancing snack that's going to support your pleasure and your energy? And so to me, it's about setting you up for success, setting the client, setting the patient up for success. And if they're local, yes, that would be a shopping tour in person. On Zoom, it's walking through the pantry, it's reading labels. Just got off the phone with the client. I actually had her go to her pantry, pull out her protein powder, and read the label. And there must have been 20, 25 ingredients on there, 10 or 15 she couldn't even pronounce.
Mm.
Same thing when we got to the tortillas, and she started to get a little upset and I could feel it. And I said, she's like, I thought I was doing well. I thought I was following the right directions, right? Like the world has shown her, okay, these are the good things. But the truth of the matter, when it's in a pretty package and when you turn it over, when you have someone like me, I'm there for empowerment. I'm not making profit off that item. I'm there because I want the client, the patient to really understand what are you putting in your body, and it's been designed to taste good, look good, smell good by food scientists. And so my role is to empower, educate, inspire, open up, and then upgrade. So now we've taken out a few of the things that maybe just aren't so healthy. They're just loaded with chemicals, and we're going to upgrade her smoothie. So it's about like, what do you like? And then let's upgrade it if in fact it's an item that is loaded with things that maybe your body doesn't even know what it is on a core level.
Could listen to you talk all day long. I have such a passion for food as medicine myself, and I know nothing. But when you speak, it's non judgmental, it's very empowering. If you ruled the nutrition world, we would have no obesity, we'd have no type 2 diabetes, and we'd all live to 100 years old and have great skin. So I just love listening to you. But let's take it a step back for a second and talk a little bit about your business. This is obviously a podcast about business, and a lot of people go to school, they become, nutritionists or food coaches or whatever their passion is. Why choose to own your own business versus work for somebody else?
Well, I think there's many parts to that. And I would say freedom and, of course, prosperity building, but also choosing what I get to do every day, who I get to work with. Like with my own business, I'm deciding, is this a good fit? Is this a doctor I want to work with? Is this a patient that is ready and open to be more committed to their journey? Do they want to make changes? As a
Mm.
do many times if we're working for someone else, we're kind of like in a role, right? We don't get to have the same freedom of choice. I have done that many years, and that is a laying of foundation to really understand it. And I have so much compassion and gratitude for all that I've learned. And there is such a joy. Also, I find myself, I'm very creative. So I like to create. And one year it might be a retreat or an online offering. There's many different ways. And also adaptability to how the world is changing. Like right now, a lot of things are coming into the wellness world. So the old ways aren't necessarily working, but then it's adapting to what's needed now.
Yeah. And you are very creative. I love watching, I get all your emails, and I love your book. Your book is beautiful. It's not just educational, it's very, very pretty. What would you say is something that happened early on in your independent business career that you are really proud of or that actually told you, like, okay, I made the right choice. I'm going to do this?
Yes, that's a great question. And what comes to mind is in 2009 when I started my food blog. So it was my website. It was my first, like, here I am on the web. And it was a food blog also for education because I would be going out to Whole Foods and finding the best cracker. Gluten-free products were just coming on the bandwagon at the time. There was a lot of companies that were putting potato starch and, substituting maybe for wheat, other things that were inflammatory and weren't necessarily good for blood sugar. So I went in kind of like a food sleuth, which was really fun for me, finding all the things like I grew up in Philly. I love cookies and tasted cakes and ice cream and all the fun stuff. But I learned over time, this isn't necessarily good for me. And maybe it's not good for some other people, hence all the chemicals and the sugars that are in there. What I started to discover, there were many cool new cookies made of almond flour, maybe a little coconut sugar that would have better ingredients and could satisfy the pleasure and taste and texture. So I began to go out and do the work for everyone else and have fun in the creativity of putting pretty pictures on my site. And I learned that I love to write. I loved that as a kid, but I never realized how much that, hence my book and creating newsletter all through the years. But the idea of like making the science simple. How can I make the science simple, educate, inspire, and make it fun to receive a newsletter or blog post?
Yeah.
And that really was the foundation of this leg of my business.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you did a lot of things right. You did a lot of things right when you got started, and it kept building and building and inspired you to get to where you are today. What's something that maybe you did at the early stages that didn't go as well as you'd like, maybe cost you a little? Come with some feedback about that.
Yeah. So in a couple years into my business, great question. I just had this boom. Like in 2012, I was doing something called the Body Bliss Challenge with a fitness studio called Cardio Bar. And my business took off in many ways through that and through working with some very VIP clients. And I thought, okay, I need help. So I hired a full-time assistant who actually we worked together at another clinic. And I was told like, "Yeah, you need a help, you need someone on your team." And so I just got like very excited and hired her on, and there was great momentum in the beginning, and then I realized, "Whoa, like what did I just do? I just took on something way bigger than what was needed, what I could really support at the time." So that was a learning journey as well.
Okay, so from that learning journey, what would you say to a bright new coach that's getting into the industry? What would you tell that person?
That you can create team around you, and it could be like a virtual assistant, part-time, or like you and I have worked together and I've hired you for marketing or business strategy. And I sometimes hire a design coach or a business coach or someone to help me with my website. And then I might learn some skills over time. So team doesn't necessarily mean full time. It doesn't always mean have to do everything at once. It could be laying the seeds and the foundations and really having someone that has some wisdom and foresight that can come in and support, like even in our conversation today, perhaps someone new, like you just shared, is coming into this industry. Everything doesn't have to be done at once. And I would relate that back to even when I'm working with a client, there could be a bit of overwhelm, maybe because in the past they had some overwhelm. Like, no, we can do it slow. You can fall down and get up. It's a baby step here. It's a leap there. And same thing in business.
That is so true. I've since we started AMP, we've been talking a lot about deep versus wide. Just
Mhm.
because you can doesn't mean you should. And it doesn't mean you can't in the future, but timeline it out, like have your benchmarks and move linearly. I love that advice. That's really, really good advice. So obviously you have to market yourself in order to have people find you, whether they be patients or they be doctors. What are some things that you've done in the space of marketing that have either really worked or just really didn't work what you want to share with us today?
Yeah. So I have continued my newsletter since 2009, and it's morphed from blog posts to a newsletter. To me, it's like fun because I like creating and I'll put pretty pictures on there. It's not every week. It's not, I don't find them always consistent. but there's consistency and there's every couple of weeks and maybe more. If I'm launching a retreat or something's going on, I might send an extra couple out. Or if I just attended a WorldLink event and I want to share some of the pearls that I've learned. To me, it's also, even if I'm sharing about a retreat or some offering that I'm having, there's always value in my newsletter. There's always a radiant gem. The last couple ones I wrote, What I'm Loving Now, it might be a food that I've found. It might even be a new Van Morrison album that I'm listening to. So it's like, what is the value that someone can receive by receiving this newsletter? Because we're so inundated with information today. So I found that the consistency over time with some kind of message from Marlyn or something cute or something true, about something, even learning about supplements or an educational piece as well. That has been great. Networking in person, going to a summit, that's where we met, going to the WorldLink events, and they're having one coming up in a few months. I'll be there. I'll be looking forward to seeing you in person. Like, we can do all these things online is great. Zoom is great. Podcasts are awesome. I just met someone from WorldLink that I've watched every week doing a roundtable Fridays and had some email, and then we just met in person. What an amazing, because we're sharing energy, right? Like, we never know where these things are going to lead. I have doctors send me patients that I met 5 years ago at the WorldLink convention. So I think, especially now, we've all had a time period where it was like, time out, we're all inside. There's something beautiful about getting out in the world again, being in community, being in energy. Amazing. Also, word of mouth, like, right? It's like, serve the client in front of you, serve the patient in front of you as if they're your only patient, your only client, your only business. And we never know where that's going to go. I was just led a retreat. There was 11, 12 women there. And one of the women had a daughter who was struggling. She's like, do you work with 30-year-olds? Yes. So I had a conversation with her daughter, and now we're working together because she had a personal experience with me. And that can really be of value too. Like, we never know where these connections are going to go. And it's really good and fun to meet people that are like-minded in the world. Also, just showing up in life. That's another thing. There's a old coach that I used to follow, and he would say, clients are everywhere. They're at the coffee shop. They're at the library. They're sitting next to you at an event. And so just being our shining light out in the world and sharing what we do. And we just never know how it's all going to play out. So I would say those are the things. And also doing corporate events, being invited to speak. I've been invited to speak a lot. And sometimes it's a paid event, sometimes it might be complimentary. What I've learned is that when people have an experience of your energy, when you're standing in front of them, Zoom is great, but there's something really wonderful about in person. And so I find too, wherever I can give back in the world and serve my passion and help people, inspire them to eat better, live better, there's a joy in that as well. So sometimes I do it for the joy of it as well.
Well, I think you do all of it for the joy.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking about as you were talking, was like everything you just said. If a business person, anyone who's starting a business, sat down and created a marketing strategy, they would put all of those things on their plan. But the difference between putting it on a plan in order to get fill in the blank, and you just are so passionate about nutrition, and you want everyone to have the knowledge that you do, that you give those radiant gems out into the world with no expectation. And there's no upset about it if it doesn't come back to you. You just keep giving and giving and giving. And then the people that are naturally meant to work with you, they just walk into your life. And that is beautiful. It's really beautiful.
It's so true. It's a deep passion. I really believe I have two sons that are now 26 and 22. And aside from being a mom and birthing these two boys and raising them, I really do believe my purpose on this planet is to share my passion, to share my inspiration on eating healthy, living healthy. And what I've really learned in the last couple of years, if it lights me up, if I'm joyful about it, then others will feel that. And it's really coming from a deep, authentic, organic place that started very, very early on with me in very early childhood into my teen struggles and why I went to college for nutrition. And it's just like really taken many roads throughout the years, but all roads lead to food. It's like always about the food and health and how can we feel better, look better, have more radiant glow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So here at this podcast, I do something that I completely stole. It's from the Diary of a CEO podcast. Steve Bartlett does this with his guests. And I ask the last guest to give me a question to give to the next guest, and they don't know who that is. So unfortunately, you've answered this question about 14 times. The question was, why did you start your business? And you've already answered that. So I'm going to ask it a different way. And the question I want to ask you is, where do you think your business is going to be in 10
Hmm. Well, that's a really good question because the rate of which the world is
years?
changing around health and wellness and nutrition is like mind blowing, right? Like what I imagined in 10 years ago, now it's happening at the speed of light because the different drugs that are being like shared, the peptides, the technology meets nutrition, genetics. So it's accelerating. And I don't know that I can fully see the whole picture. And given that I'm so fortunate to stay in magnificent, radiant health and keep sharing my light and my wisdom and my joy, what I do see that I believe is a superpower of mine is the human experience, like the human touch. Because I just got off the Zoom with a client and I could feel at one point there was a little emotion coming up. And so before I went forward, I slowed the conversation down and really tapped into what was coming up and uncovered that so that we can move forward or take a pause and also give the power back to her. Like she doesn't have to do anything, to remind them they're choosing a new way, a new path. I'm here as a Sherpa, as a guide. So I just see myself as wisdom, like wisdom, knowledge. I'm a cheerleader at heart. I was a cheerleader in high school and I still bring that to every conversation. I want people to win.
Yeah. That's very refreshing because I think if you had 25 business owners standing in front of you and you asked them all the same question, just about all of them would have used the term AI in some way, shape, or form. And that is your unique superpower, is that your AI lives inside of you and you will always go there to make that human connection, to give that advice. And that's, in my opinion, extremely important in this industry. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Just like sometimes I'll get these intuitive hits and I just got, what is AI? And AI is like as is, right? Like when I'm in very present moment, what is showing up as is to me, that's the medicine, that's the magic. And yes, AI is magical. I just used it yesterday to update some of the copy on my website and I just couldn't believe within less than a blink of an eye, it just spit it out like it just proof beyond what I could even imagine or think. And in that respect, amazing. That will totally resonate with someone when they read it on my site. It might hit the pain point or hit what's possible. And at the same time, to me, is like, what is showing up in this present moment? And for that human experience, I hope that we can still maintain that as we move through all the technology advancements. So 10 years from now, I hope that there's just continuous technology created about how we can stay youthful and vibrant and healthy, and that there's still where I can stand and even inspire the younger generation.
That's awesome.
They're
And you will. So now, in the here and now, if someone's
yeah.
listening and they would like to get in touch with you, whether they're interested in being a patient or a doctor interested in you, maybe supporting the clinic, how can people get in touch with you?
So my website is Marlyn Wellness, and that's MARLYN marlynwellness.com. So that's my website. You can reach out to me at marlynwellness.com. I'm also on Instagram, Marlyn Wellness. That's my name on there. And I'm always open to have a conversation. I love talking with people. Many times I'll just have a conversation first to see what's going on. I really love supporting the doctors with their patients because, as I was sharing before, sometimes I just can't go deep regarding food setting. Even just a healthy pantry hour can be amazing. And as you said, like I've helped so many clients just upgrade their food. That in itself is completely the foundation of empowerment, having really good choice available for each person.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that many, many people reach out to you so that everybody has that experience of being in Marlyn's universe because it's a beautiful place to be.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jody.
my friend, for being on the podcast today. And we'll talk soon.
Definitely. And thank you so much for inviting me to share and sending you lots of love.
Absolutely. Mwah. Thank you for listening to Beyond Hormones, the business of wellness. I hope that you're walking away with fresh ideas and real strategies you can use to grow your practice with profit and purpose. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the show so you never miss a conversation. And if something you heard today resonated with you, do me a favor, share this episode with a friend or a colleague. It's one of the best ways you can support the show, and it might be exactly what they need to hear right now. If you want even more tools and support, go ahead and head over to acceleratedmedicalpractices.com. Until next time, keep doing the work that matters. Your patients need you, and I am cheering you along every step of the way.